It's already here before we started registration. I feel like it had a few people sort of made it in before. I'm not sure we can. Every day? Gotcha. Okay. Is there anyone else who you're working? Okay. Everything about it's just
time that you want to start. What has for you people and we can let them know about 5 minutes ago or sometimes you're beginning.
Yeah, we're
Then up to the 37th, so we've got a long way to go to get this room. So probably where you want it to be, but we also trying to stay cognizant of the people who aren't here on time and leave at a certain time. So what's your goal start time?
maybe, I mean, 9:33 or something like that. You know, like I know that doesn't give many more people a chance to get here on time, but I'm okay with that. And I think there'll be a good amount of information. I mean, even if people show up like 20 minutes late, I think they'll still be good.
Like our early events yesterday. Our breakfast event yesterday. We had people 30 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. You know, people going to a new place that they're not used to.
Yeah, and then trying to navigate all that. Yeah.
So there might be some stragglers.
Okay.
But
Sounds good. Oh, thanks for being here. Yeah.
our pleasure. It's not like that. You designed the website, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. I'll head down there and I'll let everyone know.
Okay.
9:33, like, hey, my phone started.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think we're good. We can still
we were talking.
I was 10 times a day in my house. 9 times a day in my car all the time. Like, I'm Siri, call this person.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Hey, Ramy, how are you? We had to put it back on.
Do you want me to? Is it already live now?
Yeah. All right, cool. We just had a wave of people come in.
Yeah, I'm gonna move this forward so people have a lot more space. Unless it bothers you.
Yeah, just awesome. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started in like 2 minutes. So like a couple more people a chance to get here, and we'll get going. So. Actually, while we're doing that, one thing I want to do real quick is just since we have kind of a small, intimate group, just kind of go around the room and introduce ourselves. So I'll start. I'm Paul Hickey, CEO of Data Driven Design, and I'm really excited here to be here today to talk about designing for voice. And you'll hear me talk for about an hour or so, and we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. But if you want to start maybe up in the front, just kind of introduce yourself quickly, and thanks for coming. Maybe tell us like briefly who you are and why you decided to come today.
Yeah, I'm Devin Monahan. I work with Gyrosity Projects. We do a lot of digital marketing and just kind of want to understand this aspect of things a little bit better.
Awesome.
Jen Renshaw, and same with Stefan.
Cool. Thanks.
Hi, me. I'm
You.
Cory Rogers, and I'm Director of Pathway in the Business Center. And I'm here because Paul and Kate are my shop is built, our building. We ask for our clients. Steal all Paul's ideas.
Perfect.
It's okay, we had breakfast last week.
Yeah, we're gonna work together. It's all good.
Cool. We're good, guys.
My name's Pearson with Lifeway in digital marketing. Someone else was supposed to be here this class and couldn't be here, so I got done.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
Cool. We'll go back there to Josh.
Josh Goodwin, I'm with the Gary Ashton Group, Remax in real estate here in Nashville, and just working towards integrating into our real estate market here in Nashville.
Cool.
I'm Jeremy. I do center UI stuff and customer experience work for Article in Nashville, which is kind of easy to tell.
Cool.
I'm Sophia. I work at Assurant as a user experience designer and designing for which is super interesting. So
Awesome. Thanks.
I'm Angela House. I work with Gyrosity Projects as well. So we're all here together to learn about designing for voice.
Cool.
Yes, Crystal Wexler with projects, just echoing everyone else. We focus on digital marketing. And so Jen shared your seminar with us, and we're super excited to learn a little bit more about the voice-based technology and how we can start incorporating that.
Awesome.
Chase Fowler, also with Gyrosity, so well said, everyone else.
All right. Thanks.
I'm Dale Rogers. I'm a professor at Nashville State. I teach interactive multimedia. And so I'm trying to figure out how we can get a program going in voice-driven design over there.
Cool.
I'm Jocelyn Hedda. I'm the National Market Director for City Current, and with all of the digital and broadcast media that we have, I'm curious if we can take better advantage of voice. I'm excited.
I'm Kyle Curcio. I'm a content strategist for a company called Strategical, and so I'm very excited. I think voice is going to be essential for content marketing going forward, so it's going to be great.
Cool.
I'm Lily. I'm an author and blogger, and it just sounds really interesting. Honestly, I'm trying to learn more about technology.
Awesome. Thanks. And then gentleman in the back.
I'm Tim Smith. I'm an attorney, and I just wanted to sort of follow up.
Cool. We've talked before, right? We talked. Thanks for coming, Tim. Nice to meet you. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. Again, I'm Paul Hickey. I run a company called Data Driven Design. We have 9 employees that are kind of spread out. We're a remote culture, but most of us are based here in Nashville. My wife Kate and I are in Spain, so I'm happy to be in Nashville today for this. And then we have full-time employees in Seattle and Miami as well. And really excited to be working with Nashville Design Week. Great people who have put this together. This is the second year. We did a presentation last year designing with data because we do a lot of, basically everything that we do, we look at some kind of data to make decisions. And so this year, when I was talking to the Nashville Design Week folks, my idea was to talk about voice, because voice user interface design is something that we all need to learn, and we're all learning it. So there's no real experts in the voice space yet, which I think really makes it a great space to be in, because everyone that I've worked with and that I've talked to is willing to help out and teach and share what tools work best and just explain what the heck is going on. And there's no feeling of anyone being behind, right? Like everyone's just kind of learning, and there's some people that have taught themselves more and done a little bit more so far, and there's some people that just kind of haven't quite got there yet. What I think is really cool about the group that's here today is you have digital marketers, you have authors, you have people that are in higher education, you have other agencies, and other companies that are essential to helping any business kind of grow and function. And so I get excited about voice from a business standpoint, but today I'm gonna walk through. I think you'll see that like most of my examples are how businesses can use voice, but I think that user interface design that comes in the voice space is really just making things more efficient and effective, whether you're on the marketing side trying to acquire customers, or whether you're maybe more on the operations side. Because I think right now we all look at voice and we see Google Home and the Alexa enabled devices and things like that. And a lot of people are familiar with how to use them in their home or how to use them for personal use. And so what I'm trying to do is bring a lot of knowledge as to how to use it for a business. So we're going to jump right in. And again, thanks to Nashville Design Week for letting me kind of take a complete left turn away from probably a lot of the other events this week and go into something that you're not necessarily designing in a traditional way. You're designing for a conversation. So how to build voice-based applications. And I think I like to start off with voice-based applications as the main title here, because that's essentially what Alexa, Amazon Alexa, and Google Home, Google Assistant will allow you to do. They'll allow developers and even non-developers, and she's probably going to do that quite a bit. I'm not going to mute her. Yeah, I might mute her later if that gets annoying, but I have like multiple devices, so one's muted and the other one's not. But anyway, Amazon and Google, like, I want to thank them because they've given developers and even like people who are content marketers and non-developers, but who know how to navigate kind of like if you know how to build like a WordPress site, for example, like update content on a WordPress site. That's a good analogy for some of the stuff that I'll show you today as to how to build a voice-based app. And then of course you can get more complicated. You can add custom integrations to it and other things. So Alexa calls it a skill and Google calls it an action. So you'll hear me say voice-based applications, skills, I'm talking about Amazon, actions, I'm talking about Google and Google Assistant. So first, of course, we're going to cover the data because that's what's most important. You want to make decisions with what to do with your personal time or the time that you're working with your company. You want to make sure that the decisions you're making are driven by data because there's so much stuff that you can do. And to get lost and go down a rabbit hole can really waste a lot of time. So the data around voice we're going to cover really quick. I'm going to show you guys what I consider are two sort of categories of voice-based apps. And then I'm going to show you guys the easiest way to build an Alexa skill and a Google action. And then we'll round up with other ways to build and publish voice-based applications, because once your mind gets turning into the space, you can build these applications to do whatever you want them to do, like a mobile app or like any other kind of custom software. And you can integrate them with pre-existing software and applications. So the data, as of January 2019, which is almost a year ago, there were more than 50 million smart speaker users in the world, increasing each month, by 15 to 22%. And so it had increased, from less than 1% in 2017. I mean, the punchline here is like, this is, as many of you have already said as we went around the room, this is the way to get your users' attention now and next. So being on these devices, the data is telling you that you need to be on these devices, not just as a user. The users are there already, but as either a personal brand or a business. And then going into more of the business-related data, in 2018, businesses started reporting increases in revenue as early as 9 months after launching an Alexa-enabled product, which that would be like if you just built a voice-based app on top of Alexa, and that was your company's revenue stream. So a 43% increase in revenue 9 months after a pre-existing company added a revenue stream on top of Alexa. And then a 53% boost almost immediately after launching an Alexa skill that integrates with the current product. So that would be like your company has a mobile app. Now you integrate a voice-based component to that mobile app. 53% boost on average in revenue. And then ones that I really like are, and this is a little bit, again, almost a year old, but 54% of professionals surveyed by business.com said that they would use Alexa in the workplace to increase productivity. And then just a little bit of a breakdown. So Alexa owns the smart speaker market pretty heavily, 62%, with Google Home making up 24%. But when you add Google Assistant into that mix, you know, you've got the Android phones that I think come preloaded with the Google Assistant on it. And then even if you're on an iOS device, you can add the Google Assistant app. So when you start to add, you start to think through, like the smart speakers that I have up here are where Amazon's winning, and Amazon's still doing pretty well when you look at where they're putting Alexa in everything now. But Google is right there with them. So let's talk about two types of voice-based apps. Again, this one I'm going to call conversational and content-based. And the business purpose for these apps would be more marketing and awareness. So a lot of the digital marketers that are here, the content people that are here, and people kind of running their own business that are here. And they also serve the purpose of engagement and retention. So Alexa skills are the new websites, meaning you can voice enable your website really easily by building a skill. I'm going to mute her now. Okay, so you can voice enable your website by building a skill that essentially takes the key content that you want users to know about your brand or your business and builds it into a conversation that you can have with the device. And so it's almost like a marriage of the content that's on your website and something that you would put out on Alexa. So you can say something like, Alexa, let's talk about Stewart Transportation Solutions. And then you can have a conversation, introductory conversation, while the user is doing something else. So would you like to learn more about event and conference shuttle services or executive and VIP transportation services? And then you're kind of leading that user down the path. So based on the user's answer, like a choose your own adventure book, you're kind of taking them down the different path. And it gives you the opportunity to sort of craft that experience in a way where you can take the user where you want them to go based on their answer, but also you can write it in your own voice. So like any content writer that's here, really I think you're in a good place today because you can really have a key role in the voice design because it's really, because it is audio, almost think of it like a story, like an audio book almost, as you're, you can write it in the company's voice as you're walking people through your experience. So, and then from a marketing and lead generation standpoint, depending on how the user answers the question, almost like the way that they would be on your About Us page on your website, you can be then incorporating different calls to action. So would you like to schedule a free consultation or would you like to learn more? And then if you want to keep learning more, you can ask, would you like to learn more about our team? And so you can kind of get the picture that this experience is almost just like being on a company's website where you would be able to go to the services page, in this case, hear more about the services that they offer, ask different questions to the skill. You'd be able to go to their About Us page, their case studies page, and these things are pretty easy to voice enable from your website. But the difference is that they are going to save time, reduce friction, and meet your user where they are, instead of a website where you essentially have to be on your computer or on a mobile device. This gets very different because you can have an Alexa-enabled device anywhere. So you might have one in a meeting room. You might be, because we're all doing business on the go now. Everyone is, because of the revolution with smartphones over the last like 15 years, Now the workplace has totally changed. So people are working remote, people are able to leave the office for a dentist appointment and check in and then check in later. And so your job, your role in your life might put you in a situation where you're in a waiting room at a doctor's office, or you're picking your kid up from daycare or something like that, and you're parked in line at the daycare. You can open up the Alexa app and basically get the information from the Stewart Transportation Alexa skill if Stewart Transportation is a company that you were set out to research. You can do it while exercising. And while driving is kind of my personal favorite, because when I lived in Nashville, I would literally spend about 3 hours a day in the car. And I know most of you guys probably are in a similar situation. But there's at least 8 different ways where Alexa is in the car now. And even if you don't have a new car with Alexa built in, you can easily add a dot in your car. This Rove Viva is like a $50 device that plugs into the old cigarette lighter outlet in your car, and you have Alexa in your car. Garmin has their own device, and then Alexa Auto is actually Amazon's device. So now you're thinking about, if you're a company and you have a voice user interface designer, or you work with an agency to design you a skill that's even just a basic audio version of your website, what you're doing for your target audience and your consumers and your stakeholders is you're saying, you can take us with you anywhere. Like, you don't have to be in front of your computer. You don't have to be looking down at a screen. You can get information about us anywhere. So that's why I call it frictionless. And I say it saves time, reduces friction, and it differentiates your business, especially right now, because we're in a time frame going into 2020 where not many businesses have these yet. There's a lot of businesses, if you were to go into the Alexa app and you're to search the skills store, similar to the App Store, you'll see that there's probably about 100,000 skills. Well, there's hundreds of millions of apps, right? So, and if you search a particular category related to your business, I'll guarantee you'll get 500 or less, or maybe even 50 or less, depending on like the keywords related to your business. So your competitors, your larger competitors are probably there. Like the Chase Banks of the world and the Capital Ones of the world, to give an example of like the larger brands. ESPN, CNN, they all have these skills. But right now, if you're a small business, a medium-sized business, it really differentiates you to be able to give your audience that experience. And so what about Google? So Google Actions, I've been saying Alexa skills are the new website. So it's the same as Google Actions. So Google Actions can be built the exact same way as Alexa skills. This example that I just walked you guys through can easily be built to be deployed to Google Assistant, so that your business, in the same way that it has now an iOS app and an Android version of your app, we're essentially building these voice skills now where you can deploy them to Google Assistant and to Alexa. So everything that Alexa skills can do, Google Actions can also do. And so one thing before we get into, more examples and actually showing you guys how to build these, it's important to think of it, especially because there's a lot of digital marketers in the room and small business owners in the room. This is not something that needs to add. It doesn't need to be like another thing that you have to do. Like, I don't look at it and think, okay, this is in line with like your website, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Do I have to do Snapchat? Do I have to do TikTok now? Do I have to have a YouTube channel? And it's easy to get overwhelmed and think like, well, now I have to have one of these and be on Alexa and have a podcast and be on Google Home. And so instead of thinking of it that way, think of it like that it should be woven in through your current experience. It should make your life easier. And so another thing to keep in mind, again, the data slide I showed you at the beginning, your customers and your stakeholders are going to expect that your business has these in the next 18 to 24 months, the same way that your business has to have a website now. So the first examples of some kinds of skills that are the easiest ones to kind of wrap our brain around, in addition to the website example that I gave you, the content-based skill, are called flash briefings. Let's just do a quick show of hands. Who in the room are familiar with what an Alexa flash briefing is? Okay, cool. So about like a little under half the room. So this is where it's an audio feed, essentially. It's like a podcast on top of Alexa. And so it's pretty easy to set up one time. And the difference is it's not very interactive. So you can say, I'll give you an example of here in a second. You can add it to your own personalized news feed within your Alexa app. And so it's really nice for if you're getting up in the morning, going through your morning routine and you just want to listen to a certain set of things. Or if you're driving, of course, and you have Alexa in your car, having a flash briefing, it's a more interactive way of having a podcast. So I'm going to unmute now. And so Alexa, play my flash briefing.
Here's your news. Farming Johnston Gardens, your landscape and gardening tip.
So you say, Alexa, play my flash briefing, or Alexa, what's in the news? Alexa, stop. And so I happen to have Alexa, stop.
From Carmen Johnston Garden.
I happen to have one of our clients, Carmen Johnston, who has a flash briefing podcast. And then of course I have one, so I keep myself on there. But you know, people will have the weather, CNN, they might have Big Ten basketball scores or SEC football scores, recruiting news, you know, depending on what you're interested in. And there's a lot of opportunity to build flash briefings that don't already exist, which is really cool. So for any of you in the room who are really into a particular topic and you've thought about having a podcast, doing one and then putting it into an Alexa flash briefing can really be an opportunity for you to maybe have the first flash briefing about a particular topic, which is really cool. Another example client of ours, David Adams, has one called Retire While You Work. Mine's the Data-Driven Daily Tip. So when you have these, you can also just say, depending on who you deploy your podcast through, you don't even have to use it as a flash briefing. Alexa, play Paul Hickey's Data-Driven Daily Tips.
2020 prep from Spotify.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. That's great. I'm a hip hop fan, so Alexa, play Paul Hickey's Data-Driven Daily Tips.
Playing Paul Hickey's Data-Driven Daily Tips. Right. Resuming episode 259.
1 out of 2
How
isn't
to create
bad.
your own branded Instagram story sticker gifts. Data-Driven Daily Tip 338.
And I say GIF, yes I do.
Alexa, stop. So a flash briefing is just, it's a basic audio, and that's essentially all you can really do with it. You can say, what's in the news, play my flash briefing, and you can personalize your own flash briefing. So here's an example of a voice-based website that I was talking about earlier. So my team and I have an event called the Nashville Voice Conference. We're gonna have it coming up again in 2020. And for this last one, I built a interactive voice-based website that's content, but our attendees, our featured facilitators, the media that we're attending, and then our data-driven design employees could just ask Alexa or Google for information on the event. So when you got a bunch of other stuff going on, you might not remember, like, what time do I have to be there that day? What do I have to bring? And so we built this out to where you could actually ask Google or Alexa, depending on what device you wanted to use, information about the event. So it kind of went like this. I'm going to use Google this time. Hey, Google, let's talk Nashville Voice Conference.
Here's Nashville Voice Conference. Hello, welcome to the Nashville Voice Conference. Are you an attendee, a featured facilitator, a photographer or videographer, or a data-driven design employee?
Data-driven design employee.
Okay, great. You work for data-driven design. Get pumped because you have a specific role at this event.
So that's like where you can write it in your company's voice. Like,
Charlotte, no later than 10.
Most companies wouldn't say get pumped, but like I like to say that, so I
parking on site and across the street, but spots are not guaranteed. We recommend you arrive as close to 10:30 a.m. as possible to secure a spot or arrange for someone to drop you off. Please say your name to find out your
So you
responsibilities.
can put in people's names. Kate Hickey.
Hi, Kate. You are the straw that stirs the drink. You are the main event coordinator and also will help Paul give the closing remarks.
Hey, Google, stop. So you can customize it for each person. And that was obviously something that was meant for the attendees of that event. But it's something that you don't need any.
How to help with that, yeah.
Google, stop. So it's something that is easy to build. I'm going to kind of show you guys in a minute how to build something like that, where now you see that's different than like being on a website, because you wouldn't necessarily be able to personalize the content on a website as easy as that and keep the user as interested. But from a voice user interface design standpoint, you'd obviously want to look at things like, how long did I make that big piece, right? Like, are people going to continue to listen through that whole opening thing? So from a voice user interface design standpoint, I learned a lot building that particular app, because you also have to build in different things like synonyms. So if you say, ask about a specific presentation, or I want to learn about a specific presentation, but your voice skill doesn't handle the word specific, then it's going to bump the user off. And it's not necessarily like a bug or something wrong with the device, but it's something wrong with the user interface design. So kind of relating this back to designing for voice, some of these things are important to take into account. Interactive content is another one of my favorite examples of these content-based skills, because I think at first you're like, oh, well, a voice-enabled website, like that's not that big of a deal. But now with the devices like the Echo Show 5 up here, the Legacy Echo Show, this is the Google Hub. Now we're in a space where we can design these apps to be visual and but like triggered by voice. So you've got these, you can trigger the app to launch upon a voice command. You can continuously navigate it through voice commands, but now you also have a touch screen that you can walk over to. And so from a design point, now all of a sudden, like almost literally overnight, this happened like within the last 6 months, where it was like, okay, voice designers are designing for like these devices. Now all of a sudden there's devices with screens on them. So you have like what's called the Alexa presentation language, where you can build something like, Alexa, ask Carmen Johnston Gardens to show me how to decorate my front door for fall. And it can skip you directly to a video that plays on the Echo Show of her doing that. So now you've also got things on the Echo Show on the touch screen that can navigate you to the next video. And so it's designed from like voice, making sure that the video looks good on the device, but then also designing for a touch screen. So you've basically got like 3 different components of it. So voice-based apps can allow the user to choose their own path, play games, take quizzes, play audio content, play video content. And then when you get into the next kind of voice-based app that I'm about to show you guys, they actually will allow you to do more things which you might be curious about: buy products and services, get access to data, get personalized answers to questions, check on the status of personal goals, and give users recommendations based on their behavior or data. And so this next phase of voice-based apps, the next sort of bucket, I guess, or category for me, is integrated with account linking. So this is where you basically have to let the voice-based app know who you are as a user. As a developer and a designer, now you have to design for this experience. So the business purpose of this would be adding revenue streams, adding efficiencies to an existing business or process, access, and business intelligence. So account linking for the user, I think, is a relatively familiar thing that we've all had to deal with as a user. An account linking example is one that I'm going to show you. It's our skill at Data Driven Design, one of our skills called Ask Data Driven Design. and it links with Google Analytics. So when I say account linking, picture like, this is where I was talking about integrating a voice-based app with pre-existing applications. So what it looks like for the user is that when you go to add the skill to your device, it's going to say account linking required on the Alexa page. Either this is the page on the desktop. But for the most part, like, you get invited into the skill via an email. You create your account by just putting in your name and your email, and you'll get an email invitation into the skill. And after you click the create account button, you are essentially connecting to Google, connecting to Alexa, and then you're done. You're clicking authorize. So, and what it allows you to do then, after you'll see this one time successfully linked, and this will be very common to a lot of voice-based apps that a lot of you will see or maybe have already seen. I'm gonna give you another example here before I demo Ask Data Driven Design, and it's to a health and fitness app called Carrot. And what Carrot is it's essentially like you earn money for walking. You get incentivized for walking. So it already integrates with the pedometer on your phone. And what they did to add the voice-based component to their app was they just, as the user logs in, they just tap one button, and then that account linking process happens because you're on your mobile device, and the Alexa app's already installed on your phone, and all you have to do is link the two together by clicking the account linking approval. And then what you can do is ask Alexa for the same updates essentially that you would be able to get within your mobile app. And so being able to, when the app designer and developer can take a pre-existing experience that's already really strong and then ask yourself, okay, what questions would our users want to ask verbally to the device? So for something like Carrot, there's daily goals, daily walking goals. It's gamified, so you're in with leaderboards against other people, and that's kind of how you can earn additional points and incentivize yourself to be healthy through walking. And so you can do basic things like ask it about your Carrot rewards, ask it about your activity history, but you can also ask it like where you are within your weekly goal, how many more steps do you need. You can ask it where you are on the different leaderboards against other people, so where you rank. So again, it's just being able to ask the question without having to open up your mobile app. That just enhances the experience for the users, and really has helped Carrot and other businesses that have done this continuously retain their customers, because it's one thing to get somebody into your app and using your app, and it's another thing to have them continue to use your app week over week and month over month. And so enabling the voice-based component to this has really done a lot for them. They have a 30% adoption rate on their Alexa skill, which is huge considering where voice-based apps are right now and how many people are still kind of easing into using them for things like this, in addition to music and weather. But it's a good example. So Ask Data Driven Design is, I'll tell the quick story behind this. So we've traditionally been a web design and development and digital marketing company. And the data, as you saw in the first slide, has been showing us for a long time that we need to get into the voice space. We need to be a leader in building voice-based apps. And so one way we thought of being able to do this would be to look at the different services that we offer, talk to some of our clients and stakeholders, and understand like what would save you time. What would be a service that we could provide for you as a value add in addition to what we're already doing for you? And the number one thing that we do, I think, that other web design and development companies don't do as much as we do, is we look at Google Analytics, and we let Google Analytics really determine a lot of different decisions that need to be made around web design and digital marketing decisions. So our clients love Google Analytics. They love when we explain to them what everything means in Google Analytics, and that's all great. But what we try to help them with is what are the top 4 to 6 things that you can look into Google Analytics yourself, maybe 30 minutes a month, and then you can get more than just what we're telling you all the time. So we're trying to, since Google Analytics is a free tool, we're trying to help them extend their knowledge base beyond just, and scale that beyond just what we can tell them. And so the feedback we got after several conversations was like, Paul, we just don't have time. We're not going to do it. We're not going to log into the dashboard. We're not going to spend the time to try to find the different things that you can show us really quickly. So I said, okay, now I'm putting all this together and I'm thinking, well, what if we just allowed you to be able to ask Alexa to do it? Like, then would you do it? And they were like, yes, because then we wouldn't have to like log in and like not know what we're looking at and then try to find these different things that like we don't remember what you told us to look for and all that stuff. So we basically we started with the top 4 questions that we knew everyone would want to ask about their web traffic, aligned with what we always taught them, what we always tell them about when we have them face to face, same 4 questions. And we've since added 2 questions to that, and then we just voice enabled that. So that was the earlier screen where I showed you account linking with Google Analytics one time now allows anyone who has access to our Ask Data Driven Design skill to get data from their Google Analytics account. So it's like this. Alexa, ask Data Driven Design how my web traffic is doing.
Which site should we look at?
GeorgeJones.com.
Your web traffic for http://georgejones.com/georgejones has increased 24% this month compared to last year at this time. You have acquired 15,000 users this month versus 12,134
Alexa, stop.
last year.
So there's you could say, Alexa, launch data-driven design.
Okay, let's talk web data. What would you like to know about your web data?
And then this is where you might not remember what the questions are, so she'll tell you, like, things you can ask me include. And then there's other things that other questions that we've
Things you can ask me include, is my web traffic up or down? Where is most of my web traffic coming from? What are my top viewed pages?
Alexa,
what is my
stop.
overall?
So we've added e-commerce tracking and goal completion tracking to make it a little bit more of like a business intelligence dashboard for voice, so that I think that's another thing that businesses spend a lot of time on, trying to understand, like looking at our Salesforce CRM, looking at our Facebook ads data and all these different places. And so to be able to just voice enable all of that and focus on the key metrics, I think was a good concept for us. Other use cases, audience communications and internal reporting. I'll just quickly, Alexa, open LiveRide.
Thank you for attending AWS reInvent 2019. This is your transportation schedule.
So this would be like Carrot a little bit.
Is this correct?
Yes. You're talking to an event attendee who needs to know information about their transportation schedule while they're at a particular event. What hotel are you staying at? When should your ride pick you up? All those different things. So the live ride skill can do that. And then on the other side of it, a live count skill can give an internal report to the people on the other side of the event that need to track how many attendees moved from point A to point B in a certain amount of time. Alexa, launch live count.
Welcome to Live Count by Stewart Transportation. Let's talk passenger count data. Would you like to know total passenger count as of now, or drill down individual shuttles?
Total passenger count?
Awesome. Total passenger count as of this moment is 69,400.
Alexa, stop.
Would you like?
So from a voice user interface design standpoint,
no problem. Thanks for live counting with us.
You can do stuff
Have
like
a great
that,
day.
like your exit message. You need to be cognizant of things like when you ask a question, you're asking the user a question, would you like to know total passenger count or drill one on live shuttle? You don't know what the user is going to say. So the user could say live shuttles, and you might have had it set up where they had to say drill down on live shuttles. Well, you can design the user experience very simply to add synonyms. So you can add drill down on live shuttles, like shut up, I just want to hear about live shuttles. Like you can actually design all those like potential prompts into the experience in a way where you can get user feedback on it, and then go back, add the different things that you need to add, change it around, and redeploy it to the Amazon Developer Console or Google Actions in the same way, maybe a little bit easier than on a mobile app. So like, and then of course, like on your mobile app, you know how you have to, as a user, you have to update it. You have to like get the latest update. The difference in voice-based apps, which is nice, is the user doesn't have to update it. So when the developer deploys the latest version, it just automatically is the latest version, which is something that Amazon has tried to articulate quite a bit to developers. The easiest, so now we'll get into the next, the third kind of phase of the presentation today. The easiest ways to build a simple Alexa skill in Google Action. Alexa blueprints are like, I always forget about these because I'm a lot of times working on different types of applications, like the one I was showing with the video component and all that. So you can't do, there's a lot of things you can't do with blueprints, but for any of you in the room here today, you can build these in like 5 minutes. So the one that I'll show you that I built literally in like 5 minutes is this trivia game. And you go to blueprints.amazon.com, and they have just like a ton of pre-existing templates. But this is a cool thing about it is you can pick a template, you can deploy it, you can build a skill, you can deploy it like just to your device. So if you want to do something with just your family or just your coworkers at your company, you could do like, you know, what's our lunch menu for the week in the office? And you can like load up your lunch menu, and it's something super simple like that. You can do like a new employee, like new intern orientation. Like you can build a blueprint for that, just like the checklist of things that a new intern would need to know about the office. Or like, it could be like the welcome receptionist in your office for like guests. You know, I mean, you could use this for any different number of different ways to kind of add value to your situation or try something new. And there's a lot of different things that you obviously, oh, sorry, what I was gonna say is you can have it on your device, but you can also publish it to the skills store for anybody to use it really easily. So I use this quiz blueprint for what I'm about to show you. I think quizzes are something that any business could easily get behind, just to be a little bit more, like just to kind of differentiate your business at this point in time. I don't know that quizzes are gonna be the thing 12 months from now or 18 months from now, but I think if you take a day and like get a skill out, I think it is a differentiator for you right now, because it gives you a presence on these devices at like really low, almost no cost entry point. So Alexa, open data-driven trivia. Alexa, open data-driven trivia.
Hello and welcome to Data Driven Trivia, the one and only place to totally get geeky with your knowledge of web design data. 1 to 4 players can play.
So
How many
you
are
can
playing?
customize all this. 1.
Is this DJ Playboy?
What? Yes.
Let's start. Answer quickly until you get 3 wrong. To undo an answer, say Alexa, undo. What is the ideal amount of main navigation items for a website to convert users? Is the answer 1, more
Should bring
10,
me back.
2, 9, 3, 8, or 4? 5 or less?
5 or less. So I mean, you could pretty much be a hero, like if you wanted to go do this. And I mean, again, who knows, like a year from now, if this kind of thing is going to be unique or cool. But I mean, right now to build out these blueprints, and you can kind of scale it out.
Mobile traffic share on websites in 2019?
Alexa, stop.
Thank you for playing.
So, okay, and then Google has its own similar version called Google Templates. So console.actions.google.com. going into Google, it's going to be a completely different kind of situation, but essentially you'd click new project, and then you'll see the templates that they have. So they have games and fun, kids and family, food and drink. It's pretty much a very similar situation, health and fitness, business and finance. If I'm building those voice-based websites, I'm going down to conversational. But there's also these templates that's over at the bottom left. And so when you go to templates, like a really cool one to do is like a how-to video template. So for all the content marketers that are in the room, you guys might be working like on some YouTube videos, or you might be working with some clients that put out content on YouTube. So because Google owns YouTube, they've made it very easy to put out a skill where you can just upload a G sheet of links to YouTube videos with how-to titles and descriptions in them, and it can become a how-to video action for a device like the Google Hub. You can say, I'm not going to say, well, I guess whatever. You can say, hey Google, let's talk garden tips, for example, like one we're building for our client, and it'll show a video, or it'll show like a menu of her videos for garden tips. Okay, more ways to build. This is where I get really excited, and I'll try to leave some time for Q&A, and I'll stick around a little bit after 10:30 to answer some questions too. But a tool that I really like is called VoiceFlow. They're a software as a service, so you do have to pay for them. I think maybe they have a 15 or 30-day trial. They're based out of Toronto. I'm trying to get them to come to the 2020 Nashville Voice Conference, their CEO, because basically what they've done is build a content management system for building both Alexa skills and Google Actions. What I like about it is, for me personally, you have to be really good at it in order to provide value. So it's like, it is a little bit of a barrier for people to like just jump in and like get really good at it. But it's a tool like for someone like me and for a lot of you in this room that if you take the time and learn it, you can actually turn this into a service like we've done at Data Driven Design. So this isn't the only way that we build these, but it's become a huge time saver for us because you can also layer code on top of it. So you can have like a content person or like even an author, like even just a totally non-technical person, but a really good writer, understand how to get in here and start to build some things out in VoiceFlow with the voice that I say like the, not literal voice, like the conceptual word, meaning of the word voice. And then you can have your CTO or one of your software developers come in and do the technical side. So it's a really collaborative tool. And I think maybe the most valuable thing about it is it'll allow you to deploy it to both places. So this is kind of what our dashboard looks like. You can have all of your different categories of skills for different clients and everything like that. I'm going to show you this in the browser because I think it's a lot more powerful to do it in the browser than in the slide. So this is kind of what a voice-based app looks like in VoiceFlow. Or it's what it can look like. So you're starting, I'm gonna kind of, okay, so you're starting everything here, and this is where you just, I'm basically just dragging what's called a speak block in, and this is what this is. This welcome message is a speak block. And you can say speaking as Alexa, and there's other versions of the voice. But you can also replace it with an audio file. But if you do speaking as Alexa, this is where you write it. Well, here we go. Tell Alexa what to say. So this is where you write your welcome message, right? And then you'll essentially drag in a choice block. So this is how I built that Nashville voice conference skill. I just had speak blocks and choice blocks. And then the choice would be if the user said, data-driven design employee, you press enter to add it, and then here's where you put your synonyms. So if I thought they might just say employee, I would do that. Add the synonym. And then you're just connecting the speak blocks and the choice blocks together. And that's essentially how you're building the conversation. So this skill, and I'm going to demo it for you. I'm going to attempt to demo it for you in the Amazon Developer Console, because last night, actually, I submitted the most recent version to hopefully get approved soon. But I'll demo this skill for you in the Developer Console. But I want to just kind of show you a couple of the other blocks. So you can replace Alexa's voice with an MP3 file in a couple different ways. One way of doing that is through a stream block. It's just dragging in this stream block over here, and then literally just pasting in a link to a hosted MP3 file that might be on another website. Or if it's under a certain length, if it's under 4 minutes, you can host it. Amazon will let you host it right there. So you can see that, like, you know, this kind of experience can take a few weeks to build out depending on what you're trying to do. But to get in and actually build a quick conversation in VoiceFlow, you can do it in like 15 minutes and click this upload to Alexa button. And there's a few forms that you have to fill out and some different things that you'll want to do to make it look the way that you want. But I mean, in theory, you can have a custom voice-based app in a matter of minutes and hours. And then it's, from a voice user interface design standpoint, you want to be thinking through, like, who's the target audience? What's going to be engaging? What's the purpose of this skill? Does it support other things that we have going on from a business standpoint? And then that's where you're getting into, like, really making it valuable, like you would make anything else that you're building valuable. But VoiceFlow is going to be a tool that will allow you to do 100% of your building of a custom skill, because it'll allow you to add these code blocks. One other block that I've just taught myself how to use very recently is the this multimodal display. This is how I'm building the video skill that I was showing you guys earlier. Alexa has an Alexa presentation language template. VoiceFlow links directly to it, but it will allow you to, in a similar way to like updating content on a website, it'll allow you to build out the visual experience that would go on like an Echo Show device, or obviously like the Fire app on a smart TV. So any Amazon video display will have Alexa enabled into it, and it'll use the Alexa presentation language to design that experience. So again, from a voice user interface design standpoint, this is where we're getting into designing kind of those 3 prongs that I was telling you guys about earlier. So the voice experience, which I believe Alexa's voice is going to be replaced more and more. For any of you who play fantasy football, ESPN has one where you can ask Matthew Berry about your fantasy team and like who you should start and all that stuff. Well, that's a good example of what you could use VoiceFlow to build, to be honest, because you can integrate your database of all your players or whatever. That's just data. So like all that is a spreadsheet of data where Matthew Berry's player rankings are ranked higher than other players. And it's just a set of basically variables or rules as to which cell in the database that skill is going to say to start this player over this player. So it's not really unlike how you would build anything for your business or anything that you guys want to do. And all they did was they had Matthew Berry record, instead of where I was writing out what Alexa would say, they just had somebody write that out and they put him in a recording studio, recorded it, and like you could build that kind of thing in VoiceFlow basically. So it's not a blueprint based thing, right? You're not going to be able to go to a blueprint template and build that out in like 15 minutes. That's going to be like a weeks long of a project, but you're not going to have to do it all in code. You can do a lot of it in this sort of visual situation within a tool like VoiceFlow, and then you can layer code on top of that. So just real quick, like a template for this. So this is the Alexa presentation language, and what it'll allow you to do is replace all of this with imagery. You can slide a video in here. So from a design standpoint, you can have like the video, image, copy. Your skills icon would be up here, and then essentially what you're doing is you're downloading the code and then putting it into VoiceFlow. So there's still code. There's still code involved, which is great because you can have if you need a developer to get involved and help you out. But from a voice user interface design standpoint, anyone can design this, which is what I love about it. All right, so back to the presentation here. Quick time check. So Amazon has Skill Flow Builder, which is basically like Amazon's version of VoiceFlow. I haven't used it as much. I can't say if it's better than VoiceFlow or not. I can tell you that while VoiceFlow is a browser-based software as a service application, Skill Flow Builder is a application that you download to your device and then locally to your device, and then you design within it, and then you upload that to the Amazon Developer Console. Ultimately, everything is going to revolve around the Amazon Developer Console, because this is where you're actually deploying your skill to Amazon to approve it to get it into the Alexa skill store. So that's a little bit of a process, but it's very straightforward. And this is what it looks like to test a skill in the developer console. I could try to do one real quick because I've got it set up, but you can test it after you upload. So what I did here is I built that Carmen Johnston Garden skill in VoiceFlow, uploaded it to the developer console. Now I'm testing it, all the different custom intents that I put in there. And so you're testing on what it would look like on a medium-sized device, which would be bigger than this device up here. So it's 10:29. I'm gonna stick around. I totally understand if any of you guys have to leave, but I can answer questions on any of this. I can answer any questions you have on any of this, or anything that I haven't covered today that maybe you were interested in. I definitely have more. I'm posting about this all the time on Instagram at Data Driven Design, and on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Paul Hickey. My blog is dataoveropinions.com, so if you go any of those places, you'll see more and more from me on this and my team. There's one thing that I think is important that I kind of glossed over within the VoiceFlow blocks. There's something called a custom intent. So the way that you will launch or start to use a skill or an action is called an opening invocation. So you would have Alexa is typically launch, open, or start. Google likes to say, let's talk. Or, that's basically like, that's what Google will approve pretty much, is like, let's talk, and then whatever you want to put there. But then both of them have custom intents, and Alexa will allow you, like when I said, Alexa, ask data-driven design how my web traffic is doing, that was coded in a custom intent to say, when the user says, Alexa, opening prompt, and then that utterance of how my web traffic is doing, it's going to skip you down to that, so that as a whether you're in communications or whether you're in operations or whether you're in design, whatever role you're kind of playing in, maybe building these voice experiences, everyone's kind of responsible for the communication of how do you launch it, what's the experience after you launch it. That should be kind of the choose your own adventure, choose your own path type thing that I talked about within the voice-based websites example. But then also the custom intent can be, look, we just want to market the fact that we have this new piece of content. All we need to do is tell people to say this, and now all of a sudden, and again, they don't have to download the latest update of it. You can add a custom intent at any time. You can tell your audience to say this one thing, and it'll skip them directly to that piece of content. So and then again, that's a block just in VoiceFlow. So that's my power-packed hour of designing for voice. I'm doing a lot more with voice. We have the Nashville Voice Conference on August 7th, 2020. It'll be at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. I'd encourage you guys to go to NashvilleVoiceConference.com. We have Shayna from Corner to Corner in the house. They're a good partner in that event. And go to the website and support that because the donation, it supports Corner to Corner. It's an amazing organization. So proceeds from that event. Yeah. Okay, any questions, guys? Thanks again for coming.
When you're coming up with synonyms and ways to launch apps, I envision that a potential customer or audience might use different types of phrases to try to launch it. Is that just something that they have to learn the specific keywords that launch an app, or can you teach Alexa or Google to learn how different people are wanting to launch it so that it kind of learns and adjusts and you can add?
Yeah, so that's a great question. For the opening invocation, you're really limited to what Amazon will approve and what Google will approve. And you'll see that pretty early on in the design and development process. And the number one thing that you want to tell everyone on the Amazon side who's using your Alexa skill would be to say launch. Alexa launch, and then the name of your skill. And the reason why that's important is because the user will not have to do anything else. So I could just say like a skill that I've never used before, like Alexa launch Jeopardy. I've never used that before, but if you say launch Jeopardy.
This is Jeopardy!
And so this is a different, Alexa stop. So if you don't.
Thanks for playing. I hope you keep watching Jeopardy.
So if you don't use launch, then the user will have to go into the Alexa app on their phone, find it, and click enable. And then when they click enable, then they can say Alexa open or start. So, but your three with an Alexa skill, your opening invocations are going to be launch, open, and start. And it'll be the name of your skill.
So eventually, the public is going to become familiar with the specific keywords and second nature.
Yeah, 100%, because you've got Amazon and Google, who are like the two biggest powerhouses out there, and everybody saw the Super Bowl commercials and all that. Where like, so the awareness level, I think that's a good point, Dale. Like the awareness level of what to say is going to increase, but then I do believe that the skills will learn because we've seen them learn already. And so, like for example, if you mess up but you say data-driven design to Alexa, and you've never launched it and you didn't use open, start, or launch, chances are it's going to say, there's a skill called Ask Data-Driven Design. Would you like me to enable it for you? I've started to experience a lot more of that as a user. So I think you're, like for now as a developer, designer, and then like as a business, I would be clear in my messaging to the user as to what they need to do. But I do think over time it'll get easier to, thank you. So we have some giveaway items for everybody here, and then we did say that whoever, and if anyone else has another question too, like keep the questions coming, but I don't want to forget this, so go ahead. Okay.
This is similar to this, but I'm curious if it captures responses by the user that maybe you don't have set up in the system, like the user's answers. Does it capture those that you can go back and review so that you know that you need to update certain answers or put those in there?
Not natively, not by default, and not natively now. But there's if you build like a third-party API, you could add that ability to a skill. So a good example, like it's not exactly what you described, but a good example for us is like when we built our skill, I wanted to know like what people were asking their skill, like how often they were using it. And so hopefully it'll let me just quickly log in here. Maybe the display just went out. I'm not sure. I don't know if Joel's around close or not, but whatever. So I was gonna show you there's a dashboard. So it says like if you had if Kyle had access to our skill at Strategy Core, like I could see how many times he used it, how many times he asked about the web traffic, how many times he asked about bounce rate, how many times he asked about e-commerce, etc. So there's a way to get data from the user. Is that kind of what you were? I know it's not exactly what you were asking, but yeah, cool.
I have 2 questions, and I apologize. I'm super new into all of this, and so let's.
No worries. I think everybody is, so no worries.
So I'm actually in the process of redesigning one website for one company and then building e-commerce for a second.
Okay.
And so my first question is, I look at my Google Analytics for each one weekly to see. So I actually don't have Alexa, Google, or Siri, and I refuse to put them in my house. So I'm kind of wondering if I were to use this data driven, can I actually go into it and not just say, look at my analytics, because I know my analytics. I want to know, why is my traffic low this week? What can I do to change it? What things, similar to what Wonderful Machine provides for a very time.
Yeah.
And it takes 60 days for them to totally analyze it. Are you guys able to provide that as well on a shorter turnaround?
Yeah, we're actually working towards that right now. So okay, cool. That's awesome. So I'll show you guys this in a second. Yes. So right now we have 6 questions that you can ask it related to like the tip of the iceberg, right? Like the information that you're kind of already getting. But the next phase is that drill down. So then it's like, would you like to know the referral source on your most recent e-commerce transactions? Or would you like to know how well your most recent Facebook ad campaign did at driving those goal completions? Or so because Google Analytics can be easily customized as that business intelligence dashboard through referral sources and campaigns and goal completions and e-commerce tracking, and you can drill down as much as you want to. We're going to continue to add those features to Ask Data Driven Design. So that was the original vision with it, and the beta right now, the beta that's out that everybody's using is just those basic 6 questions. But if you're interested in, like, we should link up for sure, because if that's something you would want to be using, you can be one of the first users as we add those features. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
So on the second side, because this is literally what my brain's feeding, draining weeks or nightmares. So like with my e-commerce store, if I were to use this, since I own my own shop and everything imported, if I were to say like, so I own a vintage textile company. If someone were to say like, hey Alexa, I need a new rug, what would prompt them to go to my website first, Amazon Prime, something that they already own to promote their own business over mine?
Yeah, there's going to be almost no way that small business or medium-sized businesses can own the top phrases like, Alexa, I need a new rug, or Alexa, buy me a new rug, or something like that. But for your store, there's ways to allow for users to easily buy or order goods or services right away in a way that is either making it more convenient or frictionless for them. Like, I think the best example would be like in a reorder scenario or like a complementary product scenarios. In that scenario, you already have an account, or maybe it's your Shopify store. It doesn't really matter if it's Shopify or WordPress with WooCommerce or whatever. You can integrate these Alexa skills with any kind of e-commerce situation to buy directly from the website. But it's going to be done through, it's going to need to be thought through like less of a, I want to be the top rug that shows up in a voice search, and it's going to need to be more of like a retention or differentiator situation to be saving time and reducing friction for your potential customers. So it's almost like it's almost like adding a service for your existing customers. So it could be, Alexa, ask your business name to buy me a new rug, and then it can skip the person into like, here are our top 3 rugs on sale. You know, which one would you like to order? Or would you like to add this to your, you know, it could be like, would you like to add this to your cart in your Amazon account to check out later? Or would you like to buy it now? So you can do all that stuff. It's just that, like, can I rank for like the top buy me a rug? That I think is that's the only thing that's probably going to be impossible, because that's probably going to go to whoever Amazon allows them to pay like hundreds of millions of dollars to take those at some point. So.
If you got more specific and like for location,
Huh?
would that work?
Yeah. Yeah, you can get specific, like even with the Google actions, like I went in the other day and sort of took like, I think I reserved these, I'm not sure. I think I might have to deploy the actual skill first, but I like went in and spent probably 30 minutes on like, let's talk digital marketing, let's talk web design, let's talk, you know, and took all those keywords so that I should be able to be the first one to deploy those actions. So Google, like people have started to call that white labeling on Google Assistant. So that is a possibility that's off of the Amazon side that you could look into. But I like what you're saying too, because on the Amazon side and on the Google side, if you got more niche than just the one keyword, you really could reserve that. You could say launch this phrase and it's your business. Amazon may approve that. It can't be one word, and it's likely to be, it has to be 2 or more words, and it has to be like just unique enough to get it. So if it's like long tail, I think your chances are better of it. So I think you had a question, and then there's more. So I'm gonna stick around, so we're good.
We look at my company, we look at like the integration between like the marketing and cybersecurity. And so one of the things that a lot of our clients end up talking to us about is like how can they continue to like maximize like, you know, their marketing return, but stay within the confines of whatever their cybersecurity posture is. So what have you seen with like voice in terms of cybersecurity? Because you know, we're talking about like buying things with voice, people can hear things, stuff like that. What kind of security have you seen there? Or
I'm not as familiar with that side of it. When I think of what I can tell you that I'm intrigued by is something called Alexa for Business. So just before I launch into this answer, I think what you're saying is like, how secure is this device right here at like somebody getting in and like knowing what we're all doing in here today, kind of thing?
Well,
or not necessarily.
Like the app that would like, is there a way, because I thought you have like their integration blocks, that are there like already blocks or feature functionality where you can say, like, okay, because I know I want to go down this path, whether it's buying from a Shopify store or whatever, in my voice app, can we make sure that that's being protected?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I'd need to look into that, but I'm glad you brought that up. That'll be a data-driven daily tip. For sure. So thank you for that. What I was going to say is Alexa for Business is a program by Amazon. Is anyone in here familiar with Alexa for Business? So it's a program that will allow you to just limit the access of a skill to whoever works for your company. So you're with Lifeway, right? So you guys are a perfect example for this. So like Lifeway could have a voice-enabled intranet through Alexa for Business account. Data-driven design would love to work with you guys on this, by the way. But, what you can do is set up an AWS account. Your AWS account has a customer number in it. You guys probably already have one. In the Alexa for Business section of your AWS account, you can manage both company-issued devices. So you can have like company-issued Alexa-enabled devices. And like now, I mean, maybe soon it could be like the earbuds, right? Or like just the dots, whatever. And then you can also, so you can also say like you have your own personal device, but let's just say you work for Lifeway. The Lifeway IT department or HR or whoever's working on all that together, marketing, can say, all right, we want to let you have access to this Lifeway employee-only skill on your personal device and on your company-issued device, or a mix of both. And that's all managed through an Alexa for Business account. And then when you publish that skill as a developer, and I can show you the screen, I can bring it up in a second, but before you publish a skill, it'll say like for public use or for Alexa for business use. So you can actually publish it as a private skill for employees of a company. So that gets you into like sales training, HR training, being done on these kinds of and like they call it multimodal. So you can do part of the training on your computer. You can do the next part on your, like if you're in the car, you have to do part of it. Also like intranet, like what's our mileage reimbursement policy again? You know, you can voice enable all that stuff. So I'm thinking like that's not security, but that's like locking down like the access point of it. But I know what you're saying. Like, can we make users' information secure as they go through, like ensure that's happening? So
Yeah, I appreciate the answer, because we're trying to work on some stuff as well, so I'd love to talk to you online about that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds great.
So I am not in technology at all, like I'm not a dinosaur when it comes to it. But I am a writer and a speaker and an actor. I actually did a TED Talk in a couple of months about communication. So I guess my question would be, I'm kind of fascinated by the monotone voice. Like there's no cadence. And this sort of like one-way style and just say, give me this, and then Alexa responds. Do you ever think about the negatives this might have on how humans communicate with one another in reality?
I don't personally. I think it's a good question. My personal experience is like, I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I've seen them just like start to ask Alexa all kinds of questions, and then so I see it like speeding up. I mean, we've like anyone here who has children or who has been around children in the last like 10 years has seen how like access to the internet and mobile apps and like touchscreen devices like has totally changed the way that like kids learn, and then as a byproduct of that, like what their career path could be. And like, so as I think about it, like I think of it like less about how humans would communicate with each other and more about the next generation, what they're using, how they're using it, and how that, like the opportunities that could potentially open up to them with careers or with things that they may or may not need that we all needed and those kinds of things. So that probably doesn't answer your, like, I would have to think on your question and get back to you on it, because I haven't really thought about that. I mean, I have heard like, getting philosophical, like sometimes people will like swear at their device or whatever if it doesn't do exactly what it wants it to do. But I don't know that that would necessarily affect how they would communicate with other people. Like with that, is that kind of what, I mean, is that helping you at all?
No, I know. What I meant more is like, there's no cadence. It's
so like how humans might.
So you're, like if you're talking to it all the time, that kind of shapes the way that you speak and the way you listen. And then you're in real life and you have to talk to people, so we can't just talk to devices all day long. Would that impede your ability to understand like emotional cues, your emotional intelligence, your ability to read another's, you know, what they're going through emotionally based upon their voice?
Yeah. I think there definitely could be something to that, because I think like if you're going to talk to a device and interact with it, then you learn how to do that and get what you want from it. And so I could very easily see that trickling over into human interaction in terms of like how you would maybe pronounce things, or, you know, what exactly you would say that you would maybe there's less slang. Maybe that, so on one side, like there could be more slang that gets infused into these skills and devices to kind of accommodate to how humans already communicate, or there could be less slang among humans because to get what you need from these devices, you have to speak a certain way. So that's interesting. I mean, I don't know, but that's where you got you got my mind going based on your question. So
yeah,
I'm happy to talk to you more about it later if it will help. So
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I have a quick question, but to our point, I want to say my son, he's 4, and he uses the Alexa remote of the Fire Stick, and he isn't good at pronouncing words, but Alexa makes him get it right. So sometimes he says it incorrectly, he doesn't use it, so he has to keep repeating. Now he can talk. You think he can spell the way he talks. So
Yeah.
That's one point. But I was gonna ask for content creators, for people who go live, do live videos, how do you see this? Because I've been working with it a little bit and just kind of, you said it takes weeks, but I've kind of been playing around with it. How would you, as a content creator, if I'm a motivational speaker and I use my YouTube or my Facebook, how would this benefit me in that aspect? Would you speak to that?
Yeah, I think if you're putting out content frequently, it does become something that you can talk about that's unique where you're already putting out content. So for example, like if you're already on YouTube and putting out content on LinkedIn all the time, adding a flash briefing would be easy for you because it could just be the audio version of your YouTube. And then adding that now gives you even more content to talk about on LinkedIn, because you can say, add me to your flash briefing. You can build a custom skill using a tool like VoiceFlow that I was showing you to make your take your flash briefing, which is basically just an audio feed, and you can say next and previous. You can turn that into something that's more of an interactive experience. So like, would you like more information on me, or would you like to take a quiz, or would you would you like to find out more about X, Y, or Z? You can add the different custom intents into, I have a piece of content about this one thing that I talk about all the time that I love, and you can say, Alexa, like, ask the name of your skill to jump me directly to that piece of content. So then when you do that, it gives you more to talk about on your other channels. But then being in the Alexa skill store and being in the Google Actions directory is what they call it, gives your brand another channel to be found. So people that are searching those channels, I think are more highly qualified audience for you. They're on those channels and there's less competition there. So when I used to do a lot of SEO, like we still do a lot of SEO, but I used to do a lot of SEO, and it was all about like, what keyword can you pick that has high search volume and low competition? And so I look at the Alexa Skills Store and the Google Actions directory as like that. Like those are high search volume, low competition. There might be like one other person that does what you do that has an Alexa skill. So that you have just blow that person out of the water and you're good to go. And
I'm using it for exactly what you described, but I just wanted to make sure I was in the right direction.
Okay.
I just need you to confirm. Thank you.
No problem. Let me know if we can help, if I can help you with anything that you're doing. Yeah, that'd be good.
Two things. One is, if you don't on Instagram, I watch all of his IGTV videos, especially when I'm hard work still. Helps with starting TikTok, and I was like, what am I doing? I don't know. And so it's helpful, but also to her point, you can get different voices to record your Alexa. Like now, I know Issa Rae and celebrities and Mr. T and all kinds of stuff are doing voiceover for these things. So although you can't necessarily have a conversation with it as if you're interacting with a person, you'll still get intonation and vocabulary and accents and dialects. Like those are really helping. I think you do have a point about how it can create a robotic, systematic feeling, especially growing with that, and so kind of perfect having other voices and conversations in the response to Alexa and Google. So I think if we move more in that direction, even if we can record our own voice as a response in the future, it may curb that kind of anti-human interaction.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up. Thank you, Shayna, for saying to follow me on Instagram. It's nice to know someone does.
I'm like, I don't know how to do anything.
But I'm glad you brought up that point, because one of the things I wanted to say today is that I think that in the same way that it changed overnight to go to the skill that has a video visual component to it, or at least think through like, what if someone could design an experience for the audio part, but then what if someone accesses on that? Like, don't you want it to look better? Like, you guys probably couldn't see, but on the examples that didn't have the video component, it literally would just say like, to end, say Alexa exit. And it had like the little icon of the skill up there. Well, you can make that utilize the real estate of the 5-inch screen or 7-inch screen to be more brand friendly or user friendly. And then you made me think of the other one, which is like, I believe that like in the same way that we would all go, if any of us in this room went to a website, we would know like, is this website made before 2007, or is this website made like between 2007 and 2017, or is this website made like in the last 2 years? Like I think we would all nail that. I think that the use of Alexa's voice is going to very quickly be like the website pre-2007, because of one of the things you just said. You can now as a user like use other people's voices, which is more fun. But as a developer, designer of these, you can replace Alexa's voice super easily. So why wouldn't you have someone from your brand record something? Why wouldn't you record something? So I think that like that's going to be the equivalent of it. So like, I think it's cool. I like hearing Alexa's voice. Like I like hearing the Google Assistant's voice. Like to me, it seems like real. I built an Alexa skill. Like Alexa's saying what I wanted her to say. But I think that is going to go away because I think users are just going to want to hear like, so that might tie into actually your, like that's another interesting thing to think about related to your question. The user is still going to have to like enunciate things a certain way. But I think that like when they hear Alexa, maybe 2 years from now or 3 years from now, they're going to be like, oh, remember when Alexa, like that's old, I mean, I could be wrong, but that's my thought. So let's get him and I'll keep answering questions. So you haven't asked one yet, right? So you're good.
Where, like, let's say for data-driven design, someone comes in and says, like, how many people went to my website today? Instead of like, how much traffic did I have on my website today? Do you think Alexa could then learn that new query and like associate those two things together so that way?
Yes. Yeah. More and more AI to these. So from a development standpoint, like, it's just going to be developers trying to push the boundaries of like, what can the developers do within their own skills or apps to make that user experience better? But then Amazon going to have its own, like Amazon has continued to improve their own AI where it'll be like the voice recognition. Google, when you set up a Google device, it'll ask you like, do you want to set up voice recognition? Like Apple's version of the thumbprint, the fingerprint or whatever, I guess, or the face recognition. So I think it's going to happen from both sides. Like you're going to have Amazon and Google have their AI is going to get better. And then that's going to fuel some of the things that will allow developers to incorporate better AI. And then you're still going to have all the developers be like, Alexa, ask data-driven design, like, what should I do this week? And then like they would know like, this is a marketing person who need like, what should I do this week actually means like, should I post every day on Instagram? Should I create content for YouTube? Should I post a blog on my website? Should I run Facebook ads? Like, or it's like Black Friday's in a month. Last year you didn't really do that well on Black Friday. Like, so there'd be the AI component to understanding who it is, but then also like a decision engine to like actually answering the question of like, so then there's two kinds of AI, right? Like, or AI from two different standpoints. Recognizing who the recommendations engine, then the AI based on like all the data that it has, and then what it should recommend. So, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So.
Okay, so again, I'm sorry.
Thank you for asking questions. This is like the best. This makes me so happy.
So I work for an architectural photography company, and design aspect, if they're saying, hey Alexa, I need an architectural photographer in Nashville, Tennessee, is it going to automatically bring up like the Google already, like who, if you basically Google architectural photographer in Nashville,
that and tell you, or do you have the advantage by data-driven, by adding like the voice somehow into your website? Does that help from where you would fall on your list?
Nobody really understands the search results component of it. It's very much like Google and Amazon are both sort of experimenting with when a user says like this general search phrase, what do we give back to them? And that's going to change, obviously, like continue to change very rapidly. And where my mind's at as like a marketer is thinking about like how do we disrupt, how do we like get in with what we can do to put a presence in that. So like that's where the white labeling on Google is really intriguing to me, because you can go reserve like, hey Google, let's talk something. And then like on the Amazon side, it's more, you do have to say open, launch, or start. And so, but if you say like, because of that, and I think there was a gentleman that made a point about like, Dale made a point about the user behavior will, I think, continue to be aware of what to say. So like getting in and instead of saying like, find me this or search for that, like if you start saying the phrase of open, launch, or start, you can reserve those keywords, then that would be like the Alexa version of the white labeling. So to answer your question, like really nobody knows what the heck's going on, but there's a way of like going in and building these apps to kind of like carve out a space and disrupt what they're doing and see like, how can you rank for that? So that's what we've been doing a lot of, like trying to figure that out. And in the meantime, telling people like, this is something that you're really going to need anyway, because people are going to be looking for you here. And if you're not there, and it's a differentiator for your business. So it's kind of coming from all angles.
You started talking about some of the information that you can kind of capture from the app. And then you also earlier mentioned like intent. Different intents. So can you talk a little bit more about like what you can actually capture from your own app? And then is there a way to share that with other applications? So like on the data-driven app, could I then also access information from my accounts app or something like that and be able to do things within my voice app that way, similarly to how you would on mobile?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So this is an example of like, you can gather data, pretty much whatever data you want from your own voice-based app. And this is custom coded. So we didn't use voice. We might replace this with, we might like build this over again in VoiceFlow, but like right now this is custom coded. And so as part of this, we built this web-based dashboard. This is also where you invite users in from, because this Ask Data-Driven Design skill is basically for like anyone who wants to use it, or like is a client of ours. We invite them in and then they can use it. You can get at it from the store, but you can't really use it until you link your account. So this is like, how does my web traffic look? Like how many times this question has been asked, bounce rate. You can ask me for help. You can ask it to like actually email me for help, which I think is another thing that is like almost its own little product. But how's my e-commerce performing, goal completion? So you can build, and then it says like the last time that it was used. So this was just me trying to understand like the adoption of it and then get data around who's using what feature, like where should we go into next, kind of a thing. But you can build out something like this, a dashboard like this with any kind of skill to get the data.
I think I wanted to add a little bit of something as well too before too many of us leave. I think another piece of this for whether you're B2B or B2C is going to be educational, right? You're going to do a lot of education around how you can use this as a business, why this is effective for you, how it's going to be effective for you. And so one thing to Paul's credit that we now do when we sign a new proposal and a new client is we send them this, which is got an Echo Dot in it. It's got the sort of the skill and what you need to use it, how you can use it, why you should use it. Getting them sort of that educational piece is huge, because if they don't realize how they can use it, and we literally, I wrote in the card, it says, this is for your office, not for your house to play Spotify, because that's on an educational, we're gonna have to be educators. within our spaces, and then making it and constantly reminding and showing and using social media as well to be able to keep that conversation going. Because if it's just like, hey, we have a skill and you're not showing us, oh, I can order a vintage rug in White House, Tennessee, those are two very different things. Because if not, this is going straight home into their kid's bedroom so they can play, whatever, what's 12 times 4? That kind of a game. So education, I think it would be remiss not to speak on that a little bit. And with that being said, did anyone bring a guest today? Hey, anyone else? Oh, you guys, your whole team did, right? Anybody else bring a guest? Raise your hand so I can know this. Awesome. And you guys brought like a team as well. So I'm gonna give you this this little.
I think Shayna already has one. So.
Yeah, gotcha. On our Echo Dot too, we have like custom little sticker wraps, and there's a custom sticker on the top. And I think that's another way for you to help show people that this can be branded, that this is not just personal use anymore. And in National Voice Conference, we're starting to think about we can show even more, have the educational piece with plugs, with smart lights, all the other different ways that we know that Alexa is beneficial, but not everybody else is quite there yet. So here you go. Yay. Yay.
All right. Should we give one to their whole team too? Okay. We'll give it, you guys are.
We're gonna put it in the office and use it as
Yes.
testers. Yeah.
So you have to email me to get you have to email me and I'll get you access to the skill to use it. But your question, are you so my training example? Like I envision a skill that easily works where, like, let's say you work for a big pharma company and you're a sales rep and you have to take like training on a new drug, and you're on the road all the time. So you have an office day on Friday, and then you're on the road all the time. So like you can be in front of your computer on your office day, and maybe you get 30% of the way through your first training. Then like why wouldn't your company also give you the option to continue that training while you're on the road, while you're driving, or at a parking lot or something like that? So that's where the skill can definitely keep track of, like, you completed through question 8 on the desktop device, and then but then you want to be in the car and you want to go to question 9. Like the skill can definitely do that. I think so I love that, but I think your question was maybe more around like, can 2 skills talk to each other? I have no idea. So that's good. So you've asked 2 questions that I have to research and do data-driven daily tips on. But like the second one's going to be tricky, because what's going to happen with that one is like we'd have to build a skill, which I don't have any problem doing, but like deploying it to Amazon, like Amazon, will you approve this? And like between Joe, our CTO, and I, like we know a lot about the Amazon approval process now, because we just keep submitting skills and getting, and they do actually, it's clear that what I like about it is it's clear that at Amazon, human beings are actually testing the skill submissions so that future users of skills will have their best experiences, because the feedback that you get is like, you'll get an email written out by a human that says like, when I said this, your skill didn't do these things that it needed to do. And so it's great for designers and developers of these things too, because you can pop right back into voice flow, you know exactly what to fix or whatever you're using to build it. So.
Hi, everyone. And the quiz example is very straightforward. Can you give us a sneak peek of what a combination of coding and this type of quiz starting what to look like? Just to know what will be facing.
A combination of like coding and the kind of like quiz type.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think the best way of doing that is kind of going back over into voice flow. Because if you're going to be in the blueprint, like blueprints is just going to really like featured blueprint is like a chore chart. You can make your own chore chart, and it's going to walk you through just the template of, it's pretty nice. You can add your different household members. So this could be used for business, for whatever. But I mean, there's really nothing that you're going to be able to do on top of or in addition to that template. In VoiceFlow, you could build your own chore chart by basically dragging like speak blocks and choice blocks, and you can build your own, like, this is Paul, this is Kate, this is Josh, this is Shayna, whoever. And like, this is what Paul's supposed to. That's what I did with the Nashville Voice Conference one. But then if you wanted to layer in like, okay, so if you wanted to say like, what chore should Max do today? And you wanted to just like pick a random chore, you could do something in VoiceFlow that in a speak block that you can have multiple entries here. So you can add as many entries here as you want. And then you can check this to say, give a say a random thing. And then if you wanted to like say, well, we have a database of, I think what you got me thinking of was like good with kind of like an AI. Well, okay, here's a good example. So you can build like a simple conversation, let's say about businesses in the state of Tennessee. And you can, like, if I wanted to say, like, these are the top 5 businesses in the state of Tennessee, I could have them there. I could have information about them. But if you wanted, like, a directory of all the businesses in the state of Tennessee and you wanted to build a skill that was, like, list me, like, 5 orthodontists in Spring Hill, you could add one of these blocks in here, like an integration block or a code block that can immediately like pull from a database that you have somewhere else that can serve up based on that. You can use that block to query that database and bring it into the skill. So code and integrations, and you can just bring it over into wherever you want it to be. And so they have like, you can do a custom API, which is where like if you work with a really good developer, or if you are a really good developer, like that's what they're going to pick. And so like for my team, I have 2 really talented software developers. And so we can conceive anything and be like, okay, let's do that. Or like if they're on other projects, like I'm less of a coder and I'm more of like a content person that just kind of pushes the boundaries of all this stuff. Like I will build out all this and then I'll try to do something where like I'm going to query the Google Sheet, or like I'll import the database that I have into a Google Sheet. And since this tool says I can do that, and then has anyone ever used Zapier? So like you can like pull in zaps. So I was working on one the other day where it's like I wanted to do something like with our Slack channel at Data Driven Design, where you can tell Alexa to do something and then it shows up in the Slack channel, or you can Slack something and then like Alexa has like a notification, like a ring notification, and then it tells you like someone's trying to get your attention or something like that, and you can interact. I wanted to interact like with Alexa and Slack, and you can do that because there's a Slack zap, and there's like if you guys have used Zapier, there's like tens of thousands of zaps. So like whatever you can conceive on integrations, and if you're not a coder, like I would think about like what zaps are there, what can I do with Google Sheets? If I use VoiceFlow, I can build this conversation, I can add an integration block in, I can query this thing and bring it back. So that's the best examples I can give you to like what's kind of a blueprint. It's like easy to build, but then I can push it and do a lot more with it. And then I don't know if you're a developer, if you work with developers, you hire a developer, find a developer on Upwork, whatever it is, like you can give them access to this and be like, okay, I've gotten it this far, but could you come in and maybe do these other things on top of it? Like the most cynical developers that never want to touch software as a service type things or WordPress or anything like that have looked at this and said like, yeah, I'll like layer in code over VoiceFlow. That looks good. So like that's another reason why I really like it. So Any other questions? You guys ready? Yeah.
You have defaulted towards the Amazon Alexa for most of the presentation.
Yeah.
You prefer the Alexa to Google? Or is there-
Two reasons. The data is that's what most people are using still to like a very high rate. But the second reason is that they have been a little bit more developer friendly. So like all Alexa marketing is all marketed at develop. Like there's such a strong push to like build your own Alexa skill, build your own custom skill. They're incentivizing developers and they're making it easier to build these kinds of experiences. So for me personally, like I like to take opinions out of it. I'm the whole data over opinions guy. So like the data says like go harder into Amazon than Google. And then B, like it's actually friendlier and you can do more with it. So there's more opportunity there. But then Google, you're right, I do kind of keep coming back around like maybe 20 to 30% of the time back over to Google because the white labeling thing's really intriguing. They do have the Actions console, which works the same way as the Amazon side. They are like, we don't know yet who's going to win as to like who's the most user friendly. I think they're both going to be like, I don't see either of them losing. Like, I think this is like an iOS versus Android thing. I think they're both going to be there. So you're going to need both. And that's, again, why I really like this voice flow tool, because they've actually figured out a way where you can build kind of the same experience and then deploy it to both places. So cool. I'm like really pumped that you guys all came out and asked a bunch of questions. Like, I wasn't sure if people were just going to be like, I thought this was Nashville Design Week. Like, I don't know what this guy's talking about, but yeah, another. Yeah, everybody, I would love it if everybody takes my card. Please, like, feel free to, like, stay in touch after this, because you guys are all, like, I like to talk to people that are into this, and, like, even if you're just kind of into it and you're not sure, like, I'd love to talk about it. This Nashville Voice Conference that our team did was July 31st. We're going to do the next one August 7th, so I'd love to have you guys thinking about that, and if you want to have any kind of involvement in that as an attendee or presenter or sponsor or whatever, there's a lot to do, a lot to talk about. I have to talk about Project Voice, because a good friend of mine who I've met through, like, this is like, I really like this because this is like when social media started, like back in 2005, 2006. Like, I was so heads down. I didn't really look up to be like, oh, maybe I should try to be one of the first people that does Twitter, or maybe I should try to like go to a conference and meet people that are all doing this. And so I kind of always, I didn't really like regret that, but I was always kind of like, man, I wish like, and so this is actually like the thing for me now, where I feel like I am into it enough personally that I'm meeting other people like me. And one of them is this guy, Bradley Metrock, who's like, basically has a publishing company, and it's all around voice. Everything that he talks about is voice based, and he's amazing. He's met now, so now he knows everyone that's doing anything with voice, and his event is Project Voice. Last year it was called the Alexa Conference, and it's in Chattanooga. And so I'd highly recommend that you guys check that out. It's projectvoice.ai. That's in January, so I'll be there. And then I'll be giving a tech talk at the Nashville Technology Council, actually that same week, on this. It'll be different, but on this. And then the voice conference. So if there's anything that you guys want to talk about or geek out about after this, like, please reach out. And I'll probably reply back right away. Like, hold on, like, I got to reply to this voice-based email. Someone's excited about it. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. Thanks again. And thanks to the George Jones.